Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Bearable Bull here. And I got this aggressively average content for you today, as I want all of you to witness the great dismantling of one of the best crypto companies on the planet. Ledger should write a book on how to destroy a multi-billion-dollar company in just a few days, because quite honestly, it's been very impressive. Something I've always discussed on my channel is the importance of hardware wallets, and Ledger has done themselves in. And while I've always discussed the importance of security and offline hardware wallets on my channel, I've been telling everyone to slowly de-risk out of Ledger, because I think eventually their company will be compromised and begin getting different wallets, including one of my favorites, the Decent wallet. Keep that in mind, guys. And if you guys have any more questions, don't hesitate to ask. But now, onto the content for the day, as we have Mr. Huber stating that on the Nasdaq, we have that Ripple is being celebrated on their acquisition of Medico. Remember, Medico was acquired by Ripple for $250 million, I believe, a Swiss-based custodian company. And isn't it strange on so many levels? Why would the Nasdaq do something like this right about now? Can we get past this litigation so institutions don't have to dance around Ripple anymore, but call a spade a spade? I think Wall Street is ramping up. I think Wall Street loves Ripple secretly behind closed doors, and that's something that I've been hearing not only in the mainstream, but behind closed doors. Ripple is one of the biggest crypto companies on the planet, and secretly a Wall Street favorite. They know, the big boys know, the impact this Ripple case is going to have on the entire market, the clarity Ripple is going to bring, and the amount of money that's going to flood into the space once clarity is fully given. That's why this John Deaton post is so important as well. There have been some people that try to argue with John, stating he's wrong when he says people grossly underestimate the damage the SEC case has done against Ripple and XRP. People cite Ripple's growth outside the US, but the US market is very important, and Ripple doesn't even offer XRP for its own liquidity hub. We have that in 2020, Brazilian bank Rendimento becomes the first to use Ripple's blockchain payments entirely in the cloud. But when asked if they would use XRP, they say they wouldn't use it because of regulatory reasons. XRP's price has not reached price discovery or the heights it's meant to because of this SEC case solely. Just based on the Fibonacci extension tool alone, we should have gotten past the $10 mark the last bull run cycle. And we didn't. We missed it. That's why I think this cycle, we are going to reach those levels and potentially beyond. We have some price to make up for. We have some time to make up for. And Ripple and XRP are going to do that. You best believe with regulations. They're going to be correctly positioned, the only fully regulated digital asset in the United States, and one of the only digital assets that will survive the upcoming crypto purge. Now guys, not only that, but you have to give credit where credit is due. Ripple has always been the adult in the room. Brad Garlinghouse has always conducted himself with class. Here, I'm going to bring up this clip from Wheezy, showing the difference between Consensus's Joe Lubin and Ripple's Brad Garlinghouse when talking about each other, should let you know that we have a digital asset that's being run and governed by adults.
Speaking of, Ripple. Ripple? Overvalued or undervalued?
Oh, I don't want to say anything mean about them.
You don't have to.
Massively overvalued.
Okay.
The Ethereum developer community called Consensus in Brooklyn. Overrated or underrated?
Well, some of you were. Joe Lubin was here yesterday and said Ripple's way overrated. So I guess, look, back to the Holy Wars, I want them to be successful. I don't compete with them. Like they're working on, they have experiments, and I mean experiments going on in lots of verticals.
Are they overrated?
No, I'm excited for them. They're underrated.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, isn't it so funny how the crypto company that's most hated in the industry conducts themselves with the most grace and class? Personally speaking, I've never had any hesitation with owning this digital asset for reasons like this. Because where there's hate, there's typically a lot of truth and a lot of success. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me pivot your attention over to the Black Swan capitalists, as Verson posted an interview they had with Clive Thompson and his thoughts on the U.S. Treasury Department potentially using Ripple's technology before the rollout of central bank digital currencies and the detrimental effect of corrupt regulation by enforcement by the SEC. Before I play this clip, I have to give some context. Ripple has had numerous people who have worked at the Treasury on their board and part of their advisors. When we talk about the potential of Ripple technology being used by the Treasury, it is not unfounded, and it comes from the fact that they've been politicking and connecting with the Treasury for a long time. Keep that in your mind. Now please take a listen.
You think that the Treasury Department can effectively prevent a default on the debt ceiling and ensure financial stability by using the technology and leveraging XRP's on-demand liquidity solutions? Do you think that's something that could unfold, or like you said earlier, maybe it's too soon? We're not there yet. What do you think?
To do that, there'd need to be some work on the technology side at the US Treasury. If that work has been going on, they've kept it quiet because I haven't actually heard about it. But of course, to bring in a CBDC, they do in fact need to have service providers, programmers, and I imagine they're already talking to people and even have employed them. Whether they've employed Ripple Labs Inc. to get involved with that or not, I have no idea. But if we come back to the SEC, I think there's a great deal of vested interest at the SEC to keep their power and have control over as many things as possible. And I find it a great shame that so many companies in the blockchain space would like to talk to the SEC to understand what the rules are, but are basically being rebuffed and are told, you do what you think is right, and then we'll sue you if we don't like it, as opposed to this is what you're allowed to do. It's not a very satisfactory situation if you can't talk to the regulators and get some clear guidelines.
And they're not stupid, they're very smart, and they know what they're doing. They're just buying time. That's what it seems like. Agreed.
You know, I'm way too generous of a guy, and I'll always give people the benefit of the doubt. So I suppose I should give the SEC the benefit of the doubt and just say they're not very smart at what they're doing. But okay, it could well be intentional. Yes,
I personally do believe it's very intentional. I think everyone else in the XRP community probably agrees as well. That's why this post made by Jeremy Hogan is oh so important, as Library is asking the court to clarify yet again that the secondary sales of Library are not affected by the judgment. Watch out for this ruling, as the judge in this case already said that Library on the secondary market is not a security, but they want it set in stone, as this is a possible scenario in the Ripple case as well, with the SEC asking for a broad, vague injunction and Ripple seeking clarity from the judge. We're winding down the days where a summary judgment is finally approaching, and as many people have said, we're worn down. We're tired of hearing about this stupid lawsuit. But an ending is inevitable, and it's closer now than it's ever been before. Now, guys, despite this lawsuit and despite the state of regulation in the United States, numerous Goliaths have been partnering with crypto companies, acquiring crypto companies, and building out crypto infrastructure like exchanges and custodian companies to ensure that they're ready for the next uptrend. I think once they let the floodgates loose, you're going to be shocked with how high some of these crypto valuations could go. And here, this is a valuable lesson that I've taught on this channel, being reiterated by Tika Tuari on Glenn Beck's podcast. Look at what they do and don't listen to what they say.
One of the key lessons I learned from being involved in the market so long is rather than listening to what people are saying, look at what they are doing.
Correct.
So this is what we should look at, and this is what I want people to focus on now. Billionaire hedge fund manager Stephen Cohen, who's worth between $12 to $14 billion, by far the smartest hedge fund manager in the world, I would say of the last century, is buying Bitcoin. $6,800, buying Bitcoin. Mark Lazary, Avenue Capital Group, worth about $1.7 billion, has put 1% of his net worth into Bitcoin at around this price, $7,500. Andreessen Horowitz.
Mark Andreessen.
That's right, Mark Andreessen. An early investor in Airbnb, Skype, Facebook, just launched
and Coinbase
just launched a $300 million fund. Wellington Capital, they have $1 trillion in assets, are starting to get involved in Bitcoin futures. Susquehanna, the 12th largest trading firm by volume, they now have their own Bitcoin custody department, their own trading department, and they're trading Bitcoin and Ethereum. Goldman Sachs, this new CEO, David Solomon, the most pro Bitcoin / cryptocurrency guy on Wall Street. The most pro
Goldman Sachs.
Goldman Sachs. He's the new CEO. He's coming into power shortly. BlackRock, this announcement just came out, the world's biggest asset manager. Now, last year, Larry Fink says, oh, you know what cryptocurrency and Bitcoin's good for?
Yeah.
Money laundering and drug dealers.
Right.
Right? So again, if you look at what he was saying, you're going to sell your Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
You're going to say, oh, this is all BS. But guess what is happening now? They're going to launch an ETF. They're looking at an exchange-traded fund that will allow anybody with a brokerage firm to make it as easy as hitting a buy button to go out and buy Bitcoin. So you've got to look at this preponderance of evidence, right? All these people are already wealthy. All these people care about their reputation. If Bitcoin is such a trashy asset, why are all these people getting involved?
And ladies and gentlemen, I hope that lesson is inculcated into your minds. Don't listen to what they say, watch what they do. Now guys, I have to show you this from the Crypto Cowboy. We helped obtain the working group, which is an industry working group with SWIFT and banks around the table to scale to 1 million transactions per second on our platform. Repeat, 1 million transactions a second on their platform. The working group she's talking about, in my opinion, as well as the opinion of Crypto Cowboy, is the U.S. Faster Payments Council, which Amazon's new head of payments, Ken Kruska, he founded. Ken is also a member of the FedNow community group and a member of the Business Payments Coalition for the Federal Reserve. Craig DeWitt from Ripple was the U.S. Faster Payments Council's vice chair after leaving Ripple. He has since moved on, but Pat Thielen and James Selick both still represent Ripple in this working group, along with some of the biggest names in finance. Guys, I want to play you this clip of them discussing this specific 1 million transactions per second at Sibos, as it'll bring chills down your spine. I want to leave you with this, because all of you need to remember that, in my opinion, Ripple and Swift are eventually going to partner together to bring XRP as the liquidity solution for the entire global payment system. We're pivoting away from the US dollar-dominated system into a more decentralized one. Sanctions and geopolitical tensions are playing a massive role in there. And as we see Swift's technology evolve, think about Ripple and XRP's future role in it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Bearable Bull here. Thanks for tuning in. As always, I appreciate every single one of you. Now I'll be back tomorrow with another video.
This because it's not easy, it's constantly changing.
Exactly, and I think as for SWIFT, the focus is interoperability with all these new schemes that are coming up. For us, the focus is on implementing technology that can support those innovations. So like you were mentioning, global, scalable, resilience, those are the things that we're focusing on. Just to give you an example, we have participated in a pilot on a blockchain-based implementation, and we help the team, the working group, which is actually an industry working group with SWIFT and banks around the table, to scale to 1 million transactions per second in our platform. Now, what we are doing is ensuring that the platform grows as the innovation from SWIFT and from the industry is demanding, and that's what we're focused on. Another area that we are innovating a lot is, and related a lot to what Tom is doing in terms of artificial intelligence and the use of machine learning for all different areas of financial services. We are innovating in confidential computing. We know that data sharing across institutions is very important, but we know that it needs to remain confidential for each one of those institutions. So that's an area that we at AWS all the cloud providers obviously are innovating, and that's what we are focused on, in working with the business teams from SWIFT and the banks to ensure that we can support them with the technology, that innovation that needs to happen. So we're innovating very fast on that area, but I think that demands are actually going faster sometimes than the innovations.
You've got to keep pace with each other.
Keep pace with each other, exactly, yes.
Why do I hold XRP? Because Ripple's the chosen one to lead the new global digital payment system, and they use XRP. In 2013, the Federal Reserve began looking for faster payments options. 2 years later, an action plan was born and a federal payments task force was created. It included one company focused on crypto, Ripple. In 2014, the World Bank and Better Than Cash Alliance, which includes the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Clinton Global Initiative, and the governments of 32 countries, put out a report called The Opportunities of Digitizing Payments. 1 year later, the Better Than Cash Alliance featured one crypto company on their website, Ripple. Today, Better Than Cash Alliance and all other UN initiatives are focused on a single agenda, the Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. You can see the SDGs logo on Bill Gates' lapel, world-leading companies, the Better Than Cash Alliance website, and on the UN's official exchange, Exchange. What crypto is Exchange officially utilizing for their carbon credit solution? XRP. The world will move to a new international standard for exchanging electronic messages between financial institutions by 2025 called ISO 20022. Who was the first ISO 20022 member focused on distributed ledger technology? Ripple. Who's partnered with over 300 financial institutions including Bank of America, American Express, PNC, Santander, SBI, HSBC, Standard Chartered Bank, Bank of England, India, Singapore, Scotland, Australia, and Indonesia, the largest banks in Japan, Canada, Egypt, the Middle East, United Arab Emirates, Thailand, Morocco, Bhutan, South Korea, Brazil, and Latin America? Ripple. Who is a former employee overseeing the Federal Reserve? Ripple. A former employee overseeing the world's largest asset manager, BlackRock's digital asset division? Ripple. Leading Australia's CBDC effort? Ripple. Who hired a former Treasury of the United States? Ripple. 2 former Federal Reserve attorneys to their board? Ripple. 2 former Clinton and Obama advisors, former Minister of Defense and Economics of Germany, former business director at SWIFT, former SWIFT board member, former CFO of PayPal, former head of the DTCC, former chief business officer at Uber, former VP of Amazon, and former SEC chair on their legal team? Ripple. Who's a member of the Digital Pound Foundation, Digital Dollar Project, Digital Euro Association, Mojaloop, IMF's high-level advisory board on fintech, Hyperledger Blockchain Consortium, Open Payments Coalition, Faster Payments Council, Global Payments Steering Group, Cross-Border Working Group, International Association for Trusted Blockchain Applications, Crypto Climate Accord, University Blockchain Initiative, World Wide Web Consortium, and a featured partner of the World Economic Forum with 3 members of their team directly listed on the WF website? Ripple. Now, does Ripple and XRP sound like they're going to disappear, or do they sound like they're part of a much bigger plan? You decide.